Hey everyone, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Bethany, and today's recipe I'm going to be showing you how to make a delicious pasta primavera. I've always loved pasta primavera, and it just means spring pasta in Italian. This is filled with amazing flavor. It comes together so quickly, and the veggies are in a delicious cheesy sauce that is not creamy or heavy. It's just a great light pasta dish, and you can make it any time of the year with any vegetables that you have on hand. It doesn't have to be just for spring. So let's get right into it. All right, so for our pasta primavera, first thing that you wanna do is get your pot of water on for your pasta. So I have that heated up, it's not boiling yet. The pasta will cook along with the veggies, so everything kind of goes together. So I have a big saucepan, just big enough that you can cook your vegetables in. You don't want a small one where everything's overflowing and hard to stir. I have that on just a low medium heat. What I did was I minced up a shallot. Now I am slicing up 8 garlic cloves. These are pretty large garlic cloves, and I like to slice them because that gives me a more prominent garlic flavor rather than just mincing. I find that the garlic flavor kind of disappears, and I love garlic and I want the flavor in there because it adds really nice flavor. So in our pan, I'm just gonna add about 2 tablespoons of a good cooking olive oil. And then since they're around the same size, I'm gonna add our shallot and our garlic slices. And we'll cook these for just 2 minutes. We don't want them to burn. The shallot cooks very quickly. And I really like using shallot in this because it brings a nice punch of flavor rather than using onion, which would be a little bit more mild. The shallot is really nice. It's a small amount, but creates nice flavor for the base of our vegetables. I'm just gonna mix the shallot and the garlic around. And because I like to season every layer, I'll just do a little pinch of salt with those. So while our garlic and shallot cook, I have 1 pound of asparagus here. I'm gonna trim that. I love asparagus in this dish, and you can really make pasta primavera your own. You can add whatever you like to it. Peppers are really popular. I am not using peppers today. I personally think that they can really overwhelm a dish and it just becomes all about the peppers. So I chose some other vegetables, but you can really add anything you like. So I'll trim the asparagus and just cut it into nice bite-sized pieces. I have a small zucchini. I'm gonna quarter these, and I'll keep stirring the garlic, shallot. It's actually doing pretty good. My pan is not too hot. And I'm using this new knife that I'm a huge fan of. A lot of people ask about the tools that I use, and this knife actually has to do with today's video sponsor, which is Quince. And Quince is a brand that I have used for a long time. Actually, my best friend told me about Quince years ago, and it's since become one of the top brands that I shop at for lifestyle stuff and home decor and even kitchen stuff now. They have so much available. One of the things that I love about Quince is that they are all about creating quality products that will last while also making the price point accessible for everyone. This knife is actually their Damascus Japanese chef knife. I actually have a number of chef knives because I cook a lot. I'm always chopping, and this one is definitely one of the nicer ones that I have. And it's at an amazing price point and super sharp. It just is such a quality knife. I also love this beautiful cashmere throw blanket by Quince. It is so soft that Hudson has officially claimed it as his own blanket. He loves it so much. And their bath towels are actually the best that I've owned, and all my guests would completely agree to that. And so if you are looking for a place to shop for kitchen stuff or home stuff, Quince is one of my first places that I go to look for those things. So you can go to the links in my description or scan my QR code, and then you'll get free shipping and 365-day returns. So now we're gonna add our vegetables in with our shallot and garlic. We'll cook that. I'm gonna bump my heat up a little bit. I'm gonna add a nice pinch of salt. It's flavor this. I'm gonna do this for every layer that I add vegetables. All right, so I actually mistakenly added my zucchini when I wasn't supposed to. So technically I should cook the asparagus for 2 minutes before adding the zucchini because the zucchini is softer, but it's fine, we'll make do. Mistakes happen. But I'm gonna cook these for just a couple minutes because all the vegetables are gonna cook at different levels. So you have crunchy asparagus, especially if the asparagus is really thick, you wanna make sure you cook it for a couple minutes before adding softer vegetables. But it's still gonna be delicious, but that is the proper way to do it. I just lost my train of thought while filming. All right, so after a couple minutes, when we start to see everything softening up, we're gonna add our tomatoes. So I have 1 pint of cherry tomatoes. I use cherry because they're nice and sweet and they add great flavor, but you can use any tomato that you like. And I really like the tomatoes in this because they cook down, they add a nice little sauciness to the vegetables. It's really nice, and they add a nice touch of acidity too. Gonna add another little pinch of salt in with my tomatoes. You always wanna season in layers, so whenever you add, especially a good amount of ingredients, I always like to layer with more salt because that develops flavor. So we'll cook this with the tomatoes just until they start to really break down. And now, while this is cooking, we're gonna add our pasta to the water. And the pasta that we're using is going to be a fusilli pasta. And I mentioned in other videos, I like to use pasta shapes in something like this that has like a cheesy sauce to it, that has a nice corkscrew type shape or a unique shape, just not a flat pasta, because this fusilli is going to catch all of the cheese and the sauce and all the herbs. And if you use like a flat shaped pasta, everything's just gonna slide off. So I always like to use something that has like a nice shape. So what we're gonna do is cook this until it's al dente, and then we'll drain it, but we're gonna reserve about a cup of the pasta water. So we're back at our vegetables. And once we start to see those tomatoes break down, we're gonna add our peas. So I have 1 cup of frozen peas here, and I don't wanna hear it in the comments about using frozen peas because I did test this with fresh peas and I found them to be kind of tricky to work with. I cooked them for a while and they were still undercooked, and they also sprouted in the middle of cooking and they looked very weird and unappetizing, and I didn't want to eat them. So I'm just gonna use frozen peas because they worked great in my other tests with this recipe. And we'll mix that in. These peas will cook in just a few minutes. So as the vegetables are cooking, we are going to deglaze our pan, and I'm going to add a splash of wine. So about 3 to 4 tablespoons of wine, not much, but I find that this adds great flavor to the whole dish. Really sets it apart from being just an average veggie and pasta dish. So we'll let our wine cook with the veggies for like 1 to 2 minutes. If you find that your vegetables are overcooking and you don't want them to become mushy or anything like that, you can just shut the heat off, let them sit, and then when your pasta's done, you can combine everything. All right, so after our pasta is cooked, we'll add that to our vegetables. I like to take the pasta straight from the water and put it in here, but when I'm filming, it's a little different. And I did make sure to reserve about 1.5 cups of our pasta water. I always like to reserve a little bit more than I need to because it can revive the dish if it dries up, as I've mentioned in other videos. Okay, so we'll toss that in there. I'm gonna add a little bit of some pasta water. And then we're gonna do about 1.25 to 1.5 cups of freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano. I like to do freshly grated. It's different than if you measured with the already dried, shredded Parmigiano Reggiano. So this is gonna be light and it's gonna add a really nice cheesiness to our Pasta Primavera. And I have someone here who woke up from his nap just because I took out the Parmigiano Reggiano. He loves his cheese just as much as his mom does. So I like to do some cheese, some pasta water. This is a bit dry right now, so I'm gonna put a little bit more pasta water. You don't have to worry about putting too much in because it will dry up if you do that. but I do have my heat on. It's on a very low heat. I need that to be able to create a nice cheesy sauce because I don't really just want to serve the pasta and the vegetables with cheese on top. I don't find that to be very interesting, but you can go the extra mile by incorporating the starchy pasta water, the cheese, and continue to mix that in with the vegetables for a couple minutes, and it will form into just a really beautiful cheesy sauce without actually having to use cream. Then I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons each of fresh basil and fresh parsley. Stir that together. Look how delicious that looks. This smells so good. Looks amazing. It has such a nice creamy sauce to it. And then we'll do some black pepper. You could totally add like a pinch of red pepper flakes to this if you would like a little bit of heat, but I just kept it traditional. Toss that together. Look how good that looks. Now before I taste it, just a little bit more parm on top. There's never too much. It's delicious, it's light with all those vegetables, but it's cheesy with the pasta water and the cheese. It's delicious. It's a very simple dish, but it's so flavorful. And one of the things that I found in my testing that's important, making sure that your pasta water was perfectly salted, because that is also flavor in our dish. I found that sometimes if my pasta water was undersalted or too salted, then it became an issue. So you kind of want it to be like that perfect seawater type salty because it is flavor in the dish, and then making sure that your vegetables are well seasoned before adding the pasta, so making sure everything is flavorful before you add everything. And then we have that Parmigiano Reggiano. So this is a great spring summer dish. I'm gonna be serving this with some grilled chicken tonight. You can serve it with really any protein or on its own with some crusty bread. It is delicious either way, and it's just a great simple vegetable pasta dish, but elevated a little bit with some white wine for some more flavor and the fresh herbs. So very simple, but it's delicious, and you can make this your own with any of the vegetables that you like. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoy this, and as always, I'll catch you in the next recipe, and I'll see you in the comments.